It's a brand new year and new cozy games are a bit thin on the ground this month, so I thought I'd explore a few games I didn't get a chance to cover in 2023. These will be first impressions reviews since I've only played around 3 to 5 hours of each game. First up is Snacko, which was stealthily released in early access in December 2023 without ever having had a release date confirmed. I think that meant it flew under a lot of people's radars, but I was lucky enough to be gifted a key, so let's check it out. What draws me to this game is, of course, the cats, which remind me of Luna and Artemis from Sailor Moon. You play as one of these two cats, who are washed up on the shore of Snacko Island. But the island has been all but deserted after a mysterious curse made much of it uninhabitable. This game has major Animal Crossing vibes, with a bit of Stardew Valley thrown in for good measure. You become the island's farmer and you are also tasked with rebuilding the town's population and bringing its abandoned stores back to life. So let's talk about the things I enjoyed about Snacko. It's really bright and colourful, the dialogue is full of humour, and there are cats. Did I already mention the cats? This cat in particular I found so relatable. I also really like that the story isn't the same elderly relative died and left me a farm trope that we see in other farming sims. In terms of gameplay, a lot of the activities are standard farming sim stuff, like fishing and chopping down trees, but I was surprised to see there are also optional puzzle dungeons, which is where things started to get interesting. However, I did find the controls a bit clunky, and sometimes I was confused by things like where I could farm and where to find some of the resources I needed. Don't get me wrong, all these problems were solvable. I just don't enjoy the hassle of having to work things out that I personally feel should be a bit more obvious. That being said, it's important to bear in mind that this is an early access game, so there's every chance these things could be improved upon. In my opinion, this doesn't yet feel like a complete game, and in fairness, that's the whole point of early access. So if you enjoy seeing a game develop, and having the opportunity to give feedback on the game as it grows, then I'd recommend it. If, however, you're looking for a fully complete experience, I'd say hold off for a while, but look out for the full 1.0 release in the future. On the whole, the more I played this game, the more I enjoyed it, and it's definitely one I want to come back to. Next on the list is I Am Future, which I purchased myself when it launched in early access in August 2023, but just never got round to playing. I Am Future is described as a cosy survival game, which I would usually be quite dubious about, but I really wanted to give this one a chance as I'm a big fan of anything post-apocalypse themed. I will tell you right away that I am addicted to this game. I could not put it down. So, the premise of the game is that you wake up after 6 years of being cryogenically frozen, you have no memory of where or even who you are or how you got there, and you are on the roof of a high-rise building in a flooded city. So this is basically a life sim / farming sim, and your goal is to survive by crafting and farming using only the resources that you can find. If you love sci-fi, especially dystopian and post-apo themes, then this game might be right up your street. It's one of those games that's repetitive in a good way, in a satisfying way, and there is always something to do. You have tasks, so there are guidelines if that's how you like to play, but I basically ignored these and played instinctively, and just found that I completed the tasks anyway, so whether you like to have lots of quests, or you prefer to be left to your own devices, you can play this either way. There are a couple of minor cons to the game. Firstly, I experienced a slight lag in places, however I did have this running at full graphics, so I could have turned that down in the settings, and it wasn't anywhere near constant, so for me personally it wasn't that big of a deal. I will also say, as with Snacko, this game is in early access, so we can definitely allow for a few hiccups. My second con is that I was a little confused about what to do at first, for a very specific reason. So when you first start the game, there's a lot of junk to clear up so you can uncover resources and find your way to the next area, which is not a bad thing in itself, but for me there was a little too much going on visually, which led to some sensory overload, and basically it was taking me way too long to find things I needed to progress. I had to keep going round and round the starting area until I found things I hadn't noticed before, and eventually I found the thing I needed to progress the story. This won't be a problem for everyone, but if you are susceptible to sensory overload, just be aware that this might happen. I do want to say though that in my personal opinion, it is well worth powering through, because after I got over that hurdle, the pace of the game picked up significantly and I am really enjoying it. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that if I played this before I made my top 5 2023 cozy games video, then it might have made it onto the list. But just because we came late to the party, doesn't mean we can't have a damn good time. Our third game on this list is Mail Time, and I enjoyed this so much more than I expected to. In fact, I wasn't actually going to buy this one, but I picked it up in a humble bundle, and I'm so glad I did. It's funny, cute and wholesome, and I couldn't stop playing till I completed the game. This is a short game, it took me about 3 hours to finish, and it's basically a 3D platformer. You play as a trainee Mail Scout who has to deliver a letter in order to become an official Mail Scout. The only problem is you have no idea where to find the letter's recipient. You spend the game exploring this beautiful woodland setting, completing side quests for the various animals you meet, and figuring out how to get to all kinds of places. Getting around is really fun, you just run, jump and glide, and all the mushrooms are bouncy. It's just a really simple, colourful and uplifting game, which I highly recommend if you're looking for a shorter experience that will fill you with joy. There are multiple moments that made me laugh out loud, but I think this was my favourite. If you appreciate silly humour and you've enjoyed games like Here Comes Nico and Garden Buddies, or if you just like cute woodland creatures, I'd say this game is well worth picking up. Just a super quick break to say, if you're enjoying this video, please like and maybe even subscribe. It means the world to me and it helps me grow my channel and my community. Thank you. Next up we have Mooshy Come Home, which I expected to be similar to Mail Time. There are some overlapping themes, both are set in a forest/woodland area, both involve helping out other creatures by completing quests, and in both you have to figure out how to get around. However, there are some important differences. In Mooshy Come Home, you play as a tiny mushroom who is lost in a massive forest and you need to find your way home. You actually have to explore multiple areas to get home, so the map feels much bigger than Mail Time and it's very easy to get lost. I also found the platforming aspect a little more challenging in Mooshy. Not so challenging as to put me off the game, but enough that at times it felt really rewarding to get to where I needed to be. You also have to collect crystals and find objects for your quests, so there's an incentive to explore every single nook and cranny, which I relished. I got about 4 hours of playtime from this game and I didn't 100% it, so I'd say if you're a completionist, you could get maybe 5 to 6 hours playtime easily. And I was so proud of myself when I found my way home. I was so absorbed in the game, I almost felt like I'd really been lost and been on an epic journey through the unknown. In my opinion, Mooshy Come Home and Mail Time are both really good games in their own right. I'd say if you want slightly more of a challenge, go for Mooshy, as it does have optional extra gameplay like obstacle courses to complete. But on the whole, I'm really glad I played both games, and if you do want to try them both out, you can get them as a bundle on Steam, which will save you a bit of money. The final game on today's list is Paleo Pines, and this is a game I was so excited about before it launched. I played the demo last June and loved it, but I was so busy at its actual launch time I never got round to playing the full game. In case you don't know, Paleo Pines is a farming sim where you befriend dinosaurs, take care of them, and they help you out on your farm. It's a really fun premise and the graphics are so cute, although I did have to turn the quality down due to lag. I also recommend changing the settings to blur the background, as this helps a lot with the graphics. Now, at launch, a lot of people said the game was quite buggy, but that was a few months ago now. I've been playing over the last few days and I think the game has come a long way since the demo I played last year. The instructions are definitely clearer and I just found the gameplay experience a lot smoother. I also didn't personally encounter any bugs, so hopefully the ones that were there at launch have been fixed. Honestly, I really love this game and I think it's a shame that I've not seen much YouTube coverage of it since launch. Paleo Pines is definitely worth checking out if you love farming sims, but you want to try something different with a different angle and some new gameplay. What I really like about this game is that the farming is just a tool, it's not the main event. Everything in this game focuses on the dinosaurs, which are really fun to befriend. You have to learn how to keep the dinosaurs happy in order to progress the story, and you'll also need to befriend new dinos as well. For example, in order to unlock Dapplewood Forest, you have to befriend a Styracosaurus and make it really happy so you can use its special ability. There's also no fishing or chopping down trees or catching bugs, and although I love games that include those things, it's really nice to have a farming sim where we don't have to do all that. There's something really uplifting about playing this game, it just oozes cuteness and happiness and coziness. So those were a few of the games I didn't get to cover last year, but now let's look at some of the amazing cozy games coming this year in this video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you again soon with more cozy games.